Hello all and welcome to SBN News. I am Ricky and we are here today with a topic that I felt interested in talking about because I'm interested in this kind of stuff. So there was a situation a few years ago, and I'm just going to surmise this for people who don't know. There was a situation in the UK down, I think it was actually in London, where prior to the local council rebuilding a not rebuilding a building, but recladding a building in materials. Through to an unfortunate situation, the building went up in complete flames, and it was learnt later on that the cladding used to remodel the building was not fit for purpose, and of course it caused very unnecessary deaths, unfortunately. In the form of the thing, and the name of the tower is Grenfell, the Grenfell Tower, and it says right here, 4 years after the situation happened, a Grenfell Tower set to be demolished over safety concerns. You think they would have considered this at least 2 years ago, even prior to the pandemic, but if I scroll down, it says ministers are expected to announce this month that the Grenfell Tower will be demolished because of safety concerns more than 4 years since the fire killed 72 people. Now, in the grand scheme of things, right, I have heard of people say, oh, it's just 72 people kind of thing. It's just like, compared to COVID and all that kind of stuff, it's just like, why is it that? It would be more, even if it was just one person who died in the situation, it would be one too many. You have to remember, these 72 people are, relatives, your parents, your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles, your siblings and your cousins, and I've heard people say, there was 72 people that died. It's just like, yeah, very insensitive, I will say. But anyway, I will scroll down because I don't want to talk about that for another little while. But it says in here, Robert Jenrick, the Housing Secretary, has been told that the building poses a risk to the local community, including the Kensington Aldridge Academy in West London, a secondary school located near the charred remains. Well, of course it would be, because it's been set on fire. It's now exposed to the elements, which means it's going to age quicker. This is where it gets a little bit annoying, at least in my opinion. If I scroll down, senior Whitehall sources told the Sunday Times that structural engineering experts hired by the government had unambiguously and unanimously advised that the tower should be carefully taken down. That's not the bit that annoys me, but it's the next bit. Government officials have been told bereaved families to expect a decision on the future. Officials have told bereaved families to expect a decision on the tower block this month. The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, MHCLG, which has taken ownership of the tower since 2018, has assured the families that the tower will not be pulled down before the 5th anniversary of the blaze in June 2022. This is where I think people are going to say that I'm insensitive for what I'm about to say right here. But I was talking about this with a friend, and the general opinion between us was this building should have been pulled down 2 years ago, not just waiting for it to keep up. Because, even if it was 6 months, that is still enough time for the building to decay a little bit. And I don't want to bring this back to like, I'm not even going to mention it, but basically, through time, we know that, these concrete structures are built reliant on gravity and to steady itself, kind of thing. And with these buildings, it only takes one pillar to crumble for the entire building to, and whatever way it's going to collapse is the way gravity decides it wants to collapse. If it blows, if the wind blows a certain way, it's probably going to blow in that direction. So yeah, I'll get to my opinions at the very end. I'm going to finish off reading this paragraph, An independent Grenfell Tower Memorial Commission made up of representatives of the bereaved, survivors and local residents has been created to establish plans for a memorial on the site. That's the part that I understand. I get that bit. It's the bit that follows on from this that gets me a little bit confused and a little bit annoyed, for lack of a better term. In May, the Observer reported that relatives of the Grenfell Tower victims proposed plans to turn the building into a vertical forest after the government announced it was prepared to pull the building down. The structure would be covered with 72 varieties of plants, one for every person who died, who lost their lives in the fire in June 2017. That's how far away since this whole thing was. You expected 4 years later. Even my friend says this to me, that they expected this building was already pulled down by this rate. The government had published a letter revealing that it was concerned if and when the tower should be carefully taken down, promising that the views of the community would be taken into account after inviting survivors and bereaved families to meetings. Hissam, I'm going to butcher this. I'm really sorry about this. Hissam Kusair, I don't know how we're supposed to pronounce that, who lost 6 members of his family in the fire. Rest in peace. Somebody's with the family right there. Told the Observer at the time, a tragedy has taken place that must never be forgotten at this location. If they take it down, they will obliterate that memory, and they would be putting people through another imaginal trauma. The ashes of our loved ones are in the fabric of that building. One option suggested among the letters was the Living Tower, based on the vision of the Italian architect Stefano Buari, who has designed numerous vertical forests on buildings throughout Europe. Let me actually see this, if I can get a link to this. That'll be interesting. That's the thing though, this building, I do actually believe, oh, go away. You know, this building, as far as I'm aware, is still in use, I do believe. Based on how it looks, there's windows and stuff going on, it's not, burnt to a crisp. So I get this. This is actually quite an interesting idea in some aspects. Let's see. So the charger. An MLG spokesperson said, "We know how important the sensitive decision is, and no decision has been taken. Following important independent safety advice from structural engineers, we are engaging closely with the community as we consider the evidence, including the safety concerns raised, and what the future of the Grenfell Tower should be. We have now published this advice to ensure those affected have access to information that will inform a decision on the tower before one is reached." Alright, so this is where my opinion comes in. This building should have probably been pulled down 2 years ago. Because even 2 years after the initial fire took place is enough for that building to have decayed enough for it to be unsafe anyways. Shut up, phone. But basically what I'm trying to say is, to simplify my opinion on this right away, is the building should have been pulled down long ago, because it's not, because yes, on one hand it's respecting the people having it up, but here's the thing you have to consider. As I've already mentioned, this building has been set ablaze and it's now exposed to the elements to the extent that air and stuff that could probably corrode a lot of this stuff in the building. It's going to cause the building to maybe collapse sometime in the future. It has happened before. It only takes one column from the entire building and the entire thing's coming down. There's no the government are not want to rebuild the building to make it active again because of safety concerns. And as I say, keeping it up would long term cause it to be a great safety concern. My opinion for what they should do is, as I say, they should pull it down, but don't just leave it as an empty land. They should utilise the land for the building and turn it into a garden of some kind. And do what they're doing there, as I say, having every flower represent having even like a little flower pot, or even not a flower pot, like a flower bed. Like have 72 flower beds on this plot of land that represent each and every family member. It's close to the ground, it's safe, and as it's mentioned on the article, if we scroll back up, why did I just open that? If I scroll up, it's even mentioning that it's in close proximity to a high school. Yeah, has been told that the building poses a risk to the local community, including the Kensington Aldridge Academy in West London, a secondary school located. That's a high school near where the building is centred. And as I mentioned, yeah, it might not collapse now, it might not collapse too soon into the future, but being exposed to elements like that is going to cause it possibly in the future. We never know. It's been seen before. Buildings collapse randomly out of nowhere. It can either take an earthquake, it can take a fire, it can take a couple of months just sitting there on its own, and the entire building just collapses on its own. And it's already been noticed as a safety concern. So I would probably consider, but turning it into a vertical garden, you have to have people going into the building to actually plant these buildings, I do believe, as well. And if it's already a safety concern for people to actually get in there, and of course you've got to worry about the money being put into place. Where is the money more able to be spent on? Would it just be better to have the thing get pulled down, turned into a nice little memorial garden, or even like a museum or something on its land, where it's not going to disturb anyone, it's not going to hurt anybody, or continue to hurt anyone after the fact? That's another concern as well. Yes, having it up is probably going to be a visual memory of the people who died, unfortunately, in the building. But as I say, it's going to pose a concern for killing more people in its wake. That's a concern as well. Even if it doesn't kill people, there's buildings, additional buildings are going to be destroyed if it does fall down by accident. Then at the same time, you can argue at the same time, if it does get pulled down, there is the possibility. I've seen those building demolition videos on YouTube. I'm familiar with that kind of stuff. So there is a case to be made that if it's demolished, it could probably at the same time do the same thing, where it could, the demolition could go completely out of, not to plan, could go into complete disarray. But I do think it would probably be a better choice. Just flatten the building down, and in its place just have a memorial garden or museum, or something a little bit safer and less out there. Just something that's less got less chance of causing more danger than it's already caused. It's basically what I'm trying to say. That being said, though, this channel is by design is to allow for discussion. So if you disagree with me in any way, shape or form, yes, it'll probably help the channel if you engage with the channel and show me your thoughts. That being said, so this is also a channel designed to run conversation. So if you have an alternate viewpoint from me, or you disagree completely, let me know down below in the comments below, and let me know what you think about this whole thing. This video is not meant to be insensitive to the people who have died in the building. This is just me with my own two takes, my own take basically. That being said, folks, that is it for today. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and until next time, I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.